If you have a recipe blog and you want to stand out in Google search results, then it's very important to add rich schema markup data in your recipe blog post. So in this video, I will show you how you can add rich schema markup on your recipe blog post. So if that sounds interesting, then let's dive in. Hi, my name is Ankit and welcome to Magazine 3 YouTube channel where we talk about everything related to WordPress. And if you want to learn more about that, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever we upload our next video. So while searching any recipe in Google, you must have seen these recipe cards on the top, and you must have seen this kind of featured image with the review stars at the bottom. So in order to have your website or your recipe blog post visible in search results with these rich snippets, you need to add schema markup on your recipe blog post. So let's dive in our WordPress backend and I'll show you how easy it is to add this kind of schema markup on your recipe blog post. So right now we have a fresh copy of WordPress. We are going to add a simple plugin, and then we will create a recipe post, and there we will add a schema markup for the recipe. So we will go to plugins and then we will click on add new, and here we will search for schema, and this is the plugin that we are going to use from Magazine 3 itself. It's called Schema and Structured Data for WP and AMP. So as you can see that we have a good star rating as well as 80,000 plus active installations. So we go ahead and click on install now, and then we will click on activate. Alright, so the plugin is activated. So if you want to set up the plugin with the setup wizard, you can go ahead and click here. We will click on setup wizard, and here is the welcome screen. We click on start, and we have the data type as organization or person. So if you are just an individual blogger for this recipe blog, then you can go ahead and select person, or if you have a complete organization running for this blog, then you can select organization. So most probably you will be an individual blogger, so I'll be selecting person. Let's click on next. And if you want to link your social profiles with this schema structure, then you can go ahead and select the Facebook URL from here. So all you have to do is just enter the social media profiles that you have. So once you select these options, just enter the social media profile links and that will be good to go. So right now I'm just skipping this part. So I'll just click on next. And here is an option which asking us to choose where we want to enable schema. So in this example, I'm just concentrating on posts because we will be adding schema markup on our recipe blog post. You can also select pages as well because you might want to add certain type of schema on your pages as well. So, but in this example, we are just selecting posts. And once we select post, here we have to choose what type of schema we want to add to our blog posts. And here we have an option for recipe. So I'll select that and then click on next. So now we have added recipe schema markup to our blog posts. So we will click on let's go. And now we are back in the backend of our schema markup or structured data plugin. So here are some global schema settings which will help you display your website in a better way in Google search results. So here you can choose the about section of your website. You can select the page from here. And for the contact, you can select the contact page, and it's highly recommended that you choose website schema for homepage and site link search box, and you can choose breadcrumb as well as comment schema markup. And in the breadcrumbs, you will have an option to exclude category. So if you want to exclude categories from this breadcrumb schema markup, then you can go ahead and select that. I will leave it as it is. And for the website schema markup, we also have an option for site link search box. So I would highly recommend that you turn that on. And along with that, we have an option to add schema to our archive pages. We click on that. And here we have an option to select the schema type. So we will select as article, and once we are done with this setting, we will click on save settings. And for the knowledge graph, we have already selected person instead of organization in the setup wizard itself. So here is the place where you can edit all the details. So you can go ahead and enter all the details here. It's pretty straightforward. And here we have an option for default data. So you can enter the details here just in case a fallback data will be available for any schema structure. And if you move on to the next option, AMP, if you are using AMP on your WordPress website, make sure you turn on the structured data for AMP. So the option will be available here just in case you have AMP on your WordPress website. So if it is, then make sure you turn that option on. So now we are done with the basic settings. Let's go to the blog post. We will add a recipe post, and then I'll show you how you can add a recipe markup on it using this plugin. So now let's say we have this recipe blog post, just a normal how to make a cake recipe. We have this feature image, we have some ingredients, just a sample ingredients, and below that we have some method of making cake in steps, and we also have a video. So as we have already installed our plugin, so we will see this option schema and structured data on this post, and here we have an option to modify recipe schema output. The reason it's showing recipe schema is because if you remember in the beginning we have selected recipe schema for all our blog posts. So that's why it's showing recipe schema by default. So right now we have not done anything yet. So let's go ahead and update this blog post. We will copy this link. Right now everything is in its default settings. So let's go ahead and open a Google tool which will help us check if the schema markup is added in this blog post or not. So here is the website for rich result test. So we will paste the blog post URL here, and we will test this URL, and it will take a few minutes to read the code of our website. Now here we have two valid items detected with some warnings. So let's go ahead and check what we have here. So here we have two structured data. One is breadcrumbs that we have selected from the settings, and another is recipes, which is also got detected but with some warnings. So as we have already mentioned this in our previous videos, do not worry about the warnings, but never ignore the errors. So let's go ahead and check what are these warnings and what we can do to remove these warnings as well. So once we click on that, here we have few warnings here. So right now it's not able to detect these things about the recipe schema markup. So it already detected the URL, it already detected the name, and here it's also taking the author, and all the other details are already selected here. The warning is for the extra parameters that we can easily add in our schema because there was no field in our blog post which could be mapped to these fields. So we come back to our blog post. Let's open that for a preview window. And here we will click on modify recipe schema output. So we click on that, and here we already have the URL of this recipe blog post. We have the name of this recipe, we have the description, which is actually getting from the content of this blog post. So here you can go ahead and select all this, and maybe you can enter some description for this recipe which is relevant to this, and you can also enter a little bit of SEO text here. So maybe like recipe for how to make a cake without egg, something like that. And we have the feature image here, which is already added. We have the published and modified date and all the other details as it is. You can also enter the author description here. So we have the author image option. So you can remove this and upload a author image here. Along with that, we have the normal schema for organization or the organization logo. So it's a personal blog, so you can leave it as it is. So here we have the preparation time. So here we need to enter the time in minutes, but in format of this PT20M. So 20 minutes will be the preparation time. So maybe something like this. And for the cook time, we will add PT maybe 25M for 25 minutes. Along with that, we have the total time. So you can enter the total time of this recipe. So everything involving from preparation to plating, I'll select as 50 minutes. So keywords will be like whatever keyword you want to give to this recipe. So maybe cake recipe, and multiple keywords will be separated by comma. So we will enter a comma, and then we will enter another keyword, maybe eggless cake recipe. recipe yield or servings. So it will be depending upon your recipe, you can enter that. Recipe category, so as per your recipe you can enter the category. Recipe cuisine, so maybe Indian. If you have calories, proteins, fats, fibers and all these nutrition facts available for your recipe, you can go ahead and do that. And we have the recipe ingredients. So now we will enter the ingredients, and this will be separated by a semicolon. So here we will enter ingredient 1 teaspoon. We will enter a semicolon, not the comma this time. We will enter ingredient 2 as 1 cup, semicolon again. Ingredient 3 as 1 tablespoon. So make sure you enter semicolon, not the comma in between. So next we have the option for video name. So maybe you can enter the same as your recipe. So we will enter there, and same goes with the description. And we have the video thumbnail option. You can upload that. We have the video content URL. So here we can copy the URL of our video and come back to this editor. We will enter that. We have the video embed URL. So let's enter that again. And we have the video upload date. So maybe we can enter the same date as the publishing of this blog post. So we will enter the time in the same format. So the video duration is around 5 minutes 47 seconds. So we have PT 5 minutes 45 seconds. So this is the format we need to enter the time. After that we have the recipe instructions. So again we will come back to our blog post and we will copy this recipe instruction from here, and once again we need to separate each instruction with a semicolon. So we will paste that and add a semicolon, give it a space, and then add step number 2. So that's how we will enter all the steps involved in our recipe. So here we have an option for aggregate rating, so we will add that. So we will enter 4, number of stars as 4, and after that we have an option to add recipe instructions. So we will click on that, and now we have the recipe step name. So here in the preparation for, so we can enter a step name as preparation for cake. So this will actually act as a group of steps named as preparation for cake. So you can give any name here as per your recipe if in case you want to group your recipe steps. So you can go ahead and name it or leave it blank. So we have recipes text here. So let's paste that. So we will have step 1 for making recipe. If you want to upload a specific image for this step, you can go ahead and do that from here. Along with that, we will add new instruction, and this time we will leave the recipe step name as blank. We will copy this step and then we will paste it here. So step number 2. And again, if you want to upload a separate image for this step, you can go ahead and do that from here. Now, once all this detail is edited, we can go ahead and update this blog post. We can copy this URL again. We will come back to this rich result test. We will again enter our URL here, hit enter, and let the Google read the code again. So now instead of 2, we have 4 valid items detected. Let's see what are the details. So now we have a review snippets added, we have recipes added, we have the guided recipe added, and both of them are showing some warnings. So let's go ahead and see what they are. We click on this guided recipe. We have 5 warnings. Again, you can neglect the warnings. It's not going to harm your schema structure, but make sure you do not neglect the red color errors. So now we have this missing field nutrition, which is optional, and we have missing field video, which was also optional. So now in this blog post, we have breadcrumbs, we have guided recipes, and we also have review snippets added. So now once you publish this blog post and let the Google index this, you will be able to see some rich snippets in your Google search results. So this is how easy it is to add recipe schema markups in your blog post. So if you like this video, then make sure you hit the like button, and to watch more videos related to schema markup, make sure you watch our complete playlist. The link is in the I button above and the video description below. And to watch more videos related to WordPress, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever we upload our next video. So that's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next one.